Kathy, would you do roll call, please?
Donnell Allen,
Here?
Rich Bianculli,
Here.
Wendy Newcomb, Jennifer Skinner,
I'm here.
Maggie Williams.
Here. Okay, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have any agenda adjustments?
I don't have any.
Okay, wait, one minute.
Oh, the schedule.
Oh, you would do that underneath, under reappointments.
So,
So, yeah, you're gonna
So-
add an item there.
okay.
Reappointment of superintendent.
So, FG, so we're gonna have a 10G,
Well, actually, G goes in the next page, so
Oh,
I
does
would
it?
call that an F1 and an F2.
F1, F2, okay.
So they're adding one item to the agenda.
Okay, and it's gonna be reappointment of the superintendent. And do I have a motion for that?
Move to add item 10F2, motion to reappoint superintendent.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. There we go. All right, minutes. Did anybody have any corrections?
I don't think, I didn't have any changes.
I didn't
Unless
see
there are
anything.
any proposed changes, I'll move to approve the March 25th, the February 25th minutes as proposed.
Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. Consent agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, just for the public and those in the audience, the consent agenda essentially is looking at our enrollments. I just want to let people know that we have the SES enrollment. There's been no change over February. I did get updated figures from Lakes Region in terms of your enrollment to Lakes Region middle and high schools, as well as other schools where our students go. And I did put in your consent agenda the number of superintendent agreements, which are no cost to us or to other districts sending their elementary students here. So that's what's in the consent agenda.
Okay. So that's been covered.
Yep.
Alrighty,
So you're gonna motion to approve.
the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved.
I second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. Public comments? Okay. Superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. My first item to report is your monthly financial. I'm gonna give you these every month. And I did send it out digitally. I gave you a hard copy tonight. I'm in touch with Susan quite a bit, who's our business administrator, Susan Tuttle. She does a wonderful job, and there are no glaring, worries at this moment in time. In terms of the crystal ball, we're looking pretty good for the end of the fiscal year, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But I don't know if you had any specific questions. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not seeing any major concerns. John's looked at this. I know Dell has seen it. They're not clamoring to me about, hey, whoa, what's going on here? And I'm not seeing that as well. So just wanted you to know that piece.
I have no questions. Does anybody else have questions?
Thank you. The next item that I have is my budget presentation to you folks. And I did send you a digital version. John, do you have one of these?
I do.
Dell, you have one, right? I put together a PowerPoint for the public meeting that's gonna come up in the future. And we're gonna work on that. I don't think we can do it tonight, but I just wanted you to have a copy of it, so I sent you the PowerPoint presentation, which I'll refer to. And also, I sent out in the packet, as well as provided you with hard copies of the proposed budget. Now, we made an adjustment recently to the proposed budget. Susan did not include one additional day for social worker. So that increased the prior budget I sent you. I think we were looking at a 5.06% increase. That went up $13,500. So now your actual, and you have the hard copy of the updated version, and we're looking at a 5.32% increase over last fiscal year. So that's the budget, and I'll talk about that for you in a minute. And then I have a sheet that I gave you entitled Major Increases and Major Decreases to over last year's budget. And tuition is the big driver here, folks. I mean, close to 70, almost 3/4 of your increase to your budget is related to tuition. And so I'll get into that in a sec as well. And then there's another budget summary sheet. It has a pie chart on it. And it breaks also it down into the 11 areas that cost centers that we have to vote on. We have 10 really, but we add a career technical education, which the dollar amount is 0. There's 11 in the state of Maine, but because we don't provide CTE services, that will be on the warrant. Be on the warrant as an article, but we have 10 core areas that we're looking at. There's some revenue information in the budget summary as well, and there's some information in here about fund balance as well, and I'll get into that. And then the last thing I gave you tonight was a projected estimate to the millage rate in Sebago, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. So those are the documents that I gave to you digitally and in hard copy form. So getting into the overview of the proposed budget, and first of all, I want to thank a lot of folks for helping me with this budget. John and Dell has worked with me since the beginning on this, really providing me with the needed feedback that I needed, being new to the district, and getting, current costs and then looking at projected costs. So I want to thank these two gentlemen for that. Kathy's assisted me in terms of preparing documents, so thank you, Kathy. I also want to recognize Susan Tuttle, who has put together, all the information I've requested for you to look at. So thank you to Susan, and also the staff who would work with John and Dell in providing feedback to them about preparing this budget, and also to you folks who sat through this and listened patiently to me. I also want to recognize Rich and Donnell for their work on negotiations committee. And we now have some hard numbers we can put into the budget. I thought, they did an excellent job in terms of negotiation with the teachers union as well as the support staff. I think both parties were motivated and, willing to give, to come up with, we think is a decent increase for our staff, but also being mindful of the impact to the taxpayers. So I think it's a win-win for both sides. So with that said, I'm going to go over the big picture again for you on the Douglas Mountain view of the budget. I know last month I started off and we hadn't at that time known what we were looking at for dollar amount increases for wages and benefits. You've already seen the second page. I talked about the full-time employees and part-time employees. And then I had and I don't know why it came out all scattered like this, but I'll have to work on that and fix this slide. But in looking at our projected enrollment versus our official enrollment as of 10/1/24, I broke it up into preschool, SES preschool, SES K through 5, Lakes Region 6 through 8, other middle schools which we send kiddos to, which are about 6, and then Lakes Region High School, and then other high schools that we send kiddos to. And the bottom line is our enrollment based on today, is, based on what we know as of actually 10/1, is 222 students. We're projecting a net increase of 1 next year, and you'll see there's various numbers, but the total is a delta of 1. I can't tell you with great certainty that the number 14 is gonna be the exact number for pre-K. I put a little asterisk next to that, as well as the K through 5 population, because we have students that invariably come in over the summer, they might move to town, kids that we weren't aware of. So those are conservative numbers. At 14 for pre-K, which is our max, we hope it will be at the max, I think it will be. And then the SES K through 5 is 98. We think that those numbers would, that number might go up, the 98 might go up. That's been the trend over the years. In terms of where kids go to middle school, our best guess right now to other middle schools other than Lakes Region, right now we're estimating 4, but that could change because some parents of current 5th graders may request other middle schools. I know John's gonna be meeting with the parents and talking to them about middle school. But the keynote, and the taxpayers need to know that the tuition to other middle schools cannot be higher than Lakes Region's. All right, that's your school of record. And then some parents of current 8th grade students may request high schools other than Lakes Region. And again, the tuition cannot be higher than Lakes Region, your school of record. So those are the best estimates I can give you at this moment in time. Does that all make sense to you folks?
Can I just ask you a quick question, Lou?
Yeah.
For that, if a student wants to go to somewhere where it's more expensive, like, are they able to pay the difference?
They're gonna have to
or
pay
is
the
it-
difference,
Okay.
yeah.
The
They'll have to pay the-
contribution can be no higher than.
Right,
Okay,
and
so
we don't
they won't
transport
be-
to those schools as well. We transport right now to Lakes Region, so if they're gonna go to Waynfleet, then they're gonna have to drive their children to Waynfleet.
Right.
And if the, I don't think any of the tuitions right now are higher than Lakes Region's. I think Lakes Region is the highest tuition of all the places we send kids to. And that comes into your budget as well. And then the special education numbers I went over last month with you haven't changed. I wanna thank Del for his due diligence and making sure we're billed correctly, and also keeping track of the numbers of students that we have. So the proposed final budget, I would recommend that you can vote on tonight and move it forward to go over the cost centers. I think it's May 7th, correct? Is that when I have my meeting with the
Yep.
public?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the big meeting.
So the proposed budget for fiscal year 26 is $5,309,899. And that's $268,446 higher than last year, or a 5.32% increase. And I told you last time, and it hasn't changed dramatically statewide. I know I've been sending John to some meetings because he's aspiring to become a superintendent, and part of his work is to go interact with other superintendents. So I've allowed him to, attend meetings that I can't attend when I'm not, days I don't work. He's hearing reports of budget increases in the area across the state of 5 to 14%. So we're on the lower end of this increase. And so when you look at the major budget increases for fiscal year 26, regular education tuition is really what's hitting us the hardest. If you look at that overall increase that I mentioned earlier, the $268,446, almost $198,000. It's $197,977 is coming due to, the increase is due to regular tuition for your grades 6 through 12 population. So, and that's fixed in agreement that you have with Lakes Region. So really, it's tough for us at the elementary school to have any major impact to this budget. We're pretty locked in on, our grade pre-K through 5 population here, because we really don't have any wiggle room with the other part of the budget, because it's an agreement that you've signed, a 10-year agreement with Lakes Region. So that's the challenge. And when you look at the tuition rate for Lakes Region, you have what's called the elementary rate, which includes K through 8. Their tuition rate is $13,258. The State average is 12,067, and we're projecting next year that Lakes Region tuition rate is gonna be 14,584 per student, not including special education costs and not including transportation. And then the tuition rate for Lakes Region, right now is, at $14,081, but, no, that's wrong, I'm sorry, it's $15,459, there's a mistake there. And that will go up probably about another 8 to 10% next year. So I have to fix that, but the tuition rate, is higher than the state average. So that's where your biggest increase in this budget is. Does that make sense? And then the other areas that we're seeing increases in would be your employee benefits. So based on negotiations and some movement of people that move out of plans into new plans, that total increase to benefits is $86,312, right, which is about a 32.15% increase over last year. Likewise, your wages that you negotiated, $41,686. That's for all employees throughout the district. $41,686, which to me is small when I'm used to other districts where you're having hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that reflects about a 15.53% of the budget increase. And then you have contracted services for special ed. That would be your PT, your PT, your speech and language. Correct me if I'm wrong, Del.
The majority of it is speech and language.
Speech and language,
The
yeah.
contract that we have went up this year and is going up again next year. But it is comparable. It's it's the rate that most districts are paying.
And so that's a $15,600 increase, or 5.81% increase. And then the proposal to increase the social work from 3 to 4 days, that's a corresponding cost for that, $13,457. That line would increase, of the total budget, 5.01%. And then we did cut back a little bit on the math and reading books, but we still need them. We cut back on the dollar amount because I think we can get some funding, correct, some other additional grant money for that to help us out, correct? I think I have that right.
I think we're in good shape with that.
Yeah. So that, the math and reading books are gonna cost us $10,600, which we really should, I'd rather see us spend money on that than these major increases to tuition, if I'm making sense. So that's about a 3.95% increase to the overall increase. And then we talk about decreases, because when you add all the percentages up, they exceed 100%, but now we can talk about decreases. The special ed tuition is down $56,374. That's represents a minus 21%. Elementary repairs, that's down because I think that was related to wasn't that due to the repairs to elementary school is down because of, wasn't it due to the VCR?
Right, it was a switch over.
It was a switch over to our heating system, so we don't need as much money for that next year. Down 9.69%. And then redemption of principal, we've paid off the Androscoggin loan.
Oh, the modular.
Yeah. And then we had a reduction in force for the part-time gifted and talented teacher, which is, of all the decreases, it represents minus 8.33%. And then that, I put an asterisk next to that reduction in force, that more than offsets the cost for the additional day per week for the social worker position. Making sense? All right, and then I have a sheet here broken out for you for cost centers. And again, when you're looking at the bulk of your money, you're paying it for regular instruction, which is $2,825,679, which represents 53.22% of your budget. Next in line, which makes sense, since these are pretty typical, what you see for percentages and typically, is special education. The total cost of special education will be $1,217,515. And then you have student staff support, which is a slight increase, $195,401, which represents 3.68% of the total budget. Other instruction for $2,000, and I can't remember what that was for, I'll have to find that. The other instruction, I think it was
Was that a
for-
stipend?
Yes, I think that's.
That
what
was
it
Dell's for the, Ucura training, annual Ucura training.
And then on system administration,
$2,000.
that's the cost for me, Kathy, the central office. Typically, you wanna see that around 4%, that's at 3.75%, so of the entire budget, it's 199,227, and that's to run the superintendent's office, and that's in line with what you see in other, actually, it's lower, some places you'll see 4 or 5% of the total for that, so that's pretty good. School administration, that's for, I think Dell's also included in the system administration. School administration, I think we have, no, you're not.
No, I'm in
No,
the
you're not,
special
yeah. You're in the school administration, so you'd be at 220, so that amount is $224,668. We have to pay for buses, that's $185,711 cost center, which is about 3.5% of the budget. Facilities and maintenance, up a tad, that total amount is $310,793, which represents 5.85%. Debt service, again, paying off, various debt that you incur. That's up that represents 2.33% of the budget. And then we have non-instructional, which I believe would be, other non-instructional would be, trying to think that one through.
Supplies.
So, yeah. So those are the 10 cost centers, and then another way of looking at it is the pie chart that you see here. And typically what you see is a big wedge of the pie, would be regular instruction. The second highest wedge would be special education. And all the other wedges or pie pieces that come out, pretty typical what you see in schools. There's nothing here that's, crazy, in terms of the percentages of your overall budget. If your system administration was at 15%, that's a problem. But it's at 4%, which is within normal limits. And then finally, and I want to state this with a caveat, your anticipated grant funds, we're looking at an estimate of about $98,000 in grant funds, which is your title programs and your local entitlement through IDEA. And REAP is the rural education program. I forgot what the A is for, but it's for rural schools. Now, the federal cuts could impact these revenue sources that the school department has relied upon for decades. I'm saying that because I don't know what's gonna come out of Washington DC. I have no
They did
clue.
say they won't touch IDEA, so that's.
Yeah.
Nor ESEA.
Right.
Well, then if that's true,
We'll
and
hold them to it.
then we'll hold them to it. So if that's the case, I just put that caveat in, because when I put this together, I didn't know at the time. So that, that takes care of that. And then on the last page, calculation of target unassigned fund balance. You had a fund balance beginning this year of $40,257, and then you take you add to that amount your estimated revenues. They're estimated this time because we haven't closed the fiscal year of $5,080,000, and you deduct from that estimated expenditures, which Sue is claiming to be about $5,050,000. So the change is $30,000. So we anticipate that we'll have an additional $30,000 to add to fund balance, which would bring your total as of the end of the school year, 6/30/25 of the fiscal year, to $70,257. And what's interesting, I put a note, the maximum allowable unassigned fund balance is based on your budget. It can't be more than 5% of the fiscal year 25 budgeted expenditures can be set aside. We could, if we had it, put aside unassigned fund balance of $252,073. We're nowhere close to that. We're at $70,257. I recommend you keep building the fund balance in the 5% limit. There's also a bill before the legislature right now to increase the limit to 9%. I'm not sure it's gonna pass or not, but we're not even close to 5%. I'd be happy to be at 5% right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's that. In terms of the, again, I have a sheet for you, which I don't need to go over again. I went over the major highlights, your major increases to your budget and major decreases. You have your line items, that, we've gone over a few times. And then the pie chart is essentially taken from this page. I broke up the cost centers, and so a lot of this was cut and pasted into my PowerPoint presentation. And then I asked Sue to give me an estimate. And again, this is not a guarantee, it's just simply an estimate of what the budget, how it would impact your millage rate, in Sebago. So, and I'll read to you what she said to me. She said, "Hi Lou, as promised, I prepared the attached calculation showing the impact of the school budget increase on taxpayers. Because we don't have the town's final 2025 tax information yet, we need to make a couple of assumptions in order to calculate this projected impact." Again, this is more of a crystal ball, just to kind of give you a general idea. The scenario for 2025 assumes a 2% increase in the valuation base, which is your total taxable value of real estate and personal property in Sebago, which is a conservative estimate. She's being conservative on this because the actual increase in value is probably more than that. The increase from 23 to 24 years was 2.62%.
Did she have a dollar amount on that?
Let's see, let me read through here. The scenario also assumes the mill rate stays the same at 1364 per thousand. It was 1040 in 2023. This means that the taxpayers pay 1364 per every 1,000 of taxable property that they own. Did she put a dollar amount in? I'm looking at the next page. I think I don't see a dollar amount
I just
there.
know that the
Yeah.
town manager had a prospective
Yeah.
addition of $10 million in additional assessments.
An additional assessment?
But that's just the forecast.
Okay. And so the calculation show what percentage the education assessment is of the total tax assessment. So it was 56.7% in 2024, estimated 58.6% in 2025, given the assumptions above. Again, this is conservative. It also shows the dollar and percentage increases for taxpayers who own a $300,000 home and a $500,000 home. Which brings me to the spreadsheet. So I think what the best guess right now is that, looking at the assessments, that's a conservative, you're saying there could be another 10 million added to that?
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, that, didn't know that piece, but basically what she's saying is that, based on the assumptions, that if you own a $300,000 house, your portion of tax for education is gonna be, $23.97, which is about a $78 increase a year. So my guess is gonna be somewhere between $78 and $110, somewhere around there, I'm guessing, based on the new information. And then, for a $500,000 home, it's about $130, increase, to the taxes. That's the best guess at this moment in time. And I don't wanna cloud the waters, I just wanted to, just give you kind of a general idea where we're headed.
We'll have a better idea after tomorrow night, right, Rich?
Right, well.
Yeah, well, and you
Maybe.
also, I mean, you saw your taxes went up, was it last year, right? Because you had a pretty hefty increase, right? You had a pretty hefty increase.
Yeah, there was
The year before.
Yeah.
a 7.6% increase last year, but it didn't affect the mill rate 7.6%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's it. I don't know, and, if you have any questions for me, or for John, or for Dell, who's here tonight, I asked him to come on in.
Does anyone have any questions?
Lou, I assume that the PowerPoint is gonna be made available on the website?
We'll put it on the website, yeah.
That'd be great.
I can do that right away.
Yeah, it's really good information. Dell, do you have any questions? Kathy, John? No?
Do we have any idea
We've looked through this a million times.
when the grant information will be out? Do we have,
In terms of what,
like,
when the IDA grants come out, when do we hear from the, on local entitlements, Dell? Do you know?
It probably, it'll be probably late May or
Yeah.
late June. I'm guessing maybe a little increase. I think, the estimate, he wrote down 65,000 for the IDEA. It's a little bit more than that.
We were conservative on our estimates. We always, when you budget, you
This
always
year's
want to
is
be a little
bit more
conservative.
than that.
Right.
And the majority of it goes to Lake
Yeah.
Region.
I don't like to overestimate, potential revenue.
No.
I like to underestimate it, cause then you look really good when you get more than
Good
what you thought you were
surprise.
gonna get.
Right.
No, but typically, business administrators like to be conservative on that piece as well. So, just so you know that.
So if those grants come down, it would be like the end of May.
I would say title grants about the same time.
They're on the same website.
So if, for whatever reason, those don't come to fruition, will the 98,000 be put into the regular budget, or do we just, we're out?
You're out on the Title IX. My feeling is I don't wanna mess around with special education. I'd have to find the money to deal with special education. I don't think it's gonna happen, because there'd be lawsuits all over this country.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts as
Right.
well. The state's talking about different percentage for contributions to
Right.
towns as well, so if that increases, that would put us in a better position, to be able to deal with such a change, but, yeah, like Lou said, I think the lawsuits would be nationwide.
Yeah, it would just,
Constitutionally.
we can't abandon our kids with disabilities. You just can't do that. And you all know this, and, I used to teach, special ed law and ethics around families and kids with disabilities. The federal government has never fully funded special education, we all know that, right? Which is unfortunate. However, if they don't fund the minimal amount of money they've been funding over the years, it would really decimate programs throughout the state, and throughout the country. And I just don't see it happening. I will tell you that prior to 1975, when the act went into place, the states ran special education, and the states discriminated against kids with disabilities. States as late as 1972 in North Carolina were referring to kids with disabilities as imbeciles. So states weren't doing the job of educating students with disabilities, and that's what caused a national uproar in the civil rights movements for kids with disabilities, because the states weren't doing it. You heard of institutions called Willowbrook. We had New Hampshire. You had
Pineland.
you had Pineland, and so states did it before 1975, and that's the reason why Congress acted. It would be foolish for Congress not to continue to provide oversight for kids with disabilities, because the states failed to do so. I've lived long enough to see it. Like this. So if you don't have any questions, we're ready to move it forward, I guess. Do you want to vote on this tonight, or how did you proceeded in the past with this?
Usually the voting happens under action items, but we could vote now.
Kathy, do you recall that they voted, or did they wait and just?
H is for
Okay,
H.
but
Voting on
last
the
year, did
budget.
they vote to move it forward to, okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
That was
Yeah,
just double check.
it is there.
Good, okay, good, thank you. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next item that I have on my report, resignations. Julie Love Sherman, and I've accepted, I just want to inform you, her resignation as part-time music teacher. I met with her today. She loves our students. She loves everything about our school. She has a great desire to get back working with older students, which, that's what she wants for her career. No complaints about our system at all, very, forthcoming with me, and I like to meet with people before they leave to find out, did we do something that made you want to leave, or, can we do something to keep you here? She clearly has a need to work with older kiddos.
Lou, do you know what the effective date is for that? Is she
It
gonna
would-
finish out the year?
Yeah, she'll finish the year out.
That's great.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't accept it if she wouldn't.
Well, amen.
And then Ashley Martin, and I've accepted her resignation as a part-time custodian. John was able to work with some staff that are helping out. Can you recognize those staff, just for the public, to let them know? We have teachers, and I think, is it an ed tech that's doing some work?
So,
Yeah.
I can recognize, I call them they're just these two wonderful people that help clean the building at night. They don't want to be recognized.
Okay, that's fine.
But in recognition of their hard work, they have done a phenomenal job. They were tired of seeing me vacuuming floors, and they took this up, and I really appreciate their
Yeah,
efforts.
so you don't have to, that's fine, if that's what they wish, yeah. But So we do have people that step up within the building when there's a need.
For sure.
This reminds me, when you have small districts like this, it's kind of run like a mom and pop store.
Yep.
People step up, you have a principal that's vacuuming, it's just the way it works.
He also cleans toilets.
Yeah.
I was saying, I was out there
Drive vans too.
All right, he drives me.
sweeping the stoop the other day.
Yeah. So that's my report for now. I think you're up, John.
All right. And of course, I'll sit right up here with
Sure.
Lou.
I think
They need, for years I was standing in the back.
Yeah, you can sit right up here.
Yeah, we decided we wanted him on
I
camera.
wanted-
Okay.
I don't know why, but.
Yeah, well,
All right, so I'm gonna start with happenings. We just finished Read Across America Week, and I thought we had great community participation. Jeff from Jordan's store came and read a book. Rocco, I got him, he came up and read a book.
He read a book.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
We had, from, Palmer. Our
Oh, Jim Palmer?
Jim Palmer, he
Yeah.
came up and read.
Oh, no way.
And then we had the librarian assistant across the street. And so it was real, and then I got roped into reading because we had someone that couldn't do it, so. But it was a great week. We had a lot of, we had a parade, a character parade, throughout the building, all grade levels, which was a lot of fun. We had family math night, went really well. Went really well. Chris Bennett did a great job facilitating and organizing. Staff, of course, as they always do, pitch in and really help support it. And it's nice that we have a literacy night and math night that support each other every time we have it. I will say Gretchen Berg was supposed to be here yesterday, but because of the school cancellation, we're rescheduling her for April, because she really wants to come 2 days, 2 days in a week. And so she won't be here tomorrow. Parent-teacher conference is coming up. Parents should have gone to our website where they can sign up for conferences. That's there, as well as the e-wallet for families to put money in their students' wallet so they can purchase books during the book fair, which is the same throughout the week. Curriculum, it was kind of interesting. Our March workshop, we were doing a lot of work on our pilot of collaborative classroom being a reader. And what I always do, because I want to hear, you want to honor what staff think. We put a poll together at the end, kind of a survey, and 3 through 5 want to move forward with being a reader. And so 3 through 5 will move forward next year with both being a writer and being a reader. But K to 2 were having some difficulty with, it just wasn't, they thought it wasn't meeting what they needed for the little kids. So what I did is I talked to Lou, we went in and reduced the budget for that curriculum. And I'm working with K to 2 right now. We're gonna pilot 3 reading programs next year. So they're gonna pick a different program each, and what we're gonna do is provide them space and time to observe each other, piloting those 3 programs. And then in January, we'll make a decision, and then we'll put that in the budget for next year for the K to 2 reading program. So, I think, it went really well. The conversation's gone really well. So that was our March workshop. We also, and I'm gonna repeat, we have conferences for MTSS. There's a state conference. We have 3 people going to that. And, Mr. Peavy and myself and our social worker and our 2 interventionists and a staff member, we're gonna sit down and kind of talk about what we want our process to look like, and what are those tools we use to determine whether our students need intervention support, whether it's social, emotional, or academic. So they'll be going to that. We also have 1 staff member going to a Great Schools Partnership Conference on the 8th, which is really focused at providing professional development for adult learners. And so our coach is going to that to kind of understand how to support staff in that way. And then we have the Maine Math Inclusive Conference. That's really trying to be inclusionary with your math practices. And we have several staff going to that on the 10th of April. And then testing, NWA Maine 3-year, and the NWA starts April 14th through the 31st. I'll create that schedule. We'll do it in a couple weeks. We'll pick a couple weeks during that time to do it, but that's our window. We also have the Maine Science Assessment, May 12th. through the 23rd, the fifth graders take the main science assessment. And then fifth grade just took, it's called the MISS. It's a survey that measures students' attitudes towards drugs, alcohol, mental health, nutrition, physical activity. It's a voluntary survey, so parents can say no if they don't want. And what I did is I sent a letter home to fifth grade parents that had a link where they could go to look at what the questions looked like, just so they could make an informed decision. We certainly don't want kids taking a survey that the parents aren't comfortable with. And something that Maggie asked about early, I called Wyndham Middle School, or I called, Wyndham Middle School, Gorham Middle School, and Freiburg Academy. They don't have, like Lake Region, a step-up day for parents. But what they did say, they're gonna give me points of contact. I'm gonna provide that to parents, points of contact for parents to reach out to the principal. Guidance counselors set up visits for their kids. So if they're thinking about going to Gorham, Wyndham, which will be Wyndham Raymond soon, and Freiburg Academy, I picked those three because that's where a lot of our kids are going to. They can call the principal, the guidance counselor set up and they'll walk them through and give them the same information they give the students. And then finally, we had our MSMA ground and facilities inspection today. We had it this July that I showed up here. And I was like, oh, okay, welcome, John. And it didn't go that well, but today it went really well. We put a lot of time and effort into the facilities and grounds of this building, and it showed. He was really impressed that he looked at the Colby report, and he noticed that we did a lot of things that the Colby report kind of led us to do, and we're gonna continue that work. And the last thing, it's not on my agenda, for next year, we're putting lockers and cubbies in some classrooms and tables. And so I purchased, which is gonna be very helpful, I purchased cubbies for pre-K on this year's budget and tables for grade 3. So we can get them in and teachers can look at them before we order the whole set of, for all the grade levels, and they should be in the next few days, so. That's it.
Thank you.
If you need me later on in the agenda, I'm here.
Yeah, you're gonna come and talk about calendar in a minute.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Questions for John?
John, do you have a date for the science fair yet?
Ma'am?
Do you have a date for the science fair?
No, I'm talking to Ann McMahon, because we're gonna align the science fair with the science standards that Mad Science has. And so her and I are gonna talk this week, and we're gonna pick up by grade level, and then I'm gonna create the flyer. My hope is it's 2 weeks after April break. That way kids, once we put the flyers out, kids have time to start working on it, over vacation work on it. And even if they didn't work on it over vacation, when they get back, it's at least a couple weeks so they don't panic.
Yeah.
Or parents don't panic, and they
That
can
would be
get that work done. But I am working on it with Ann McMahon because she's really science focused, so her and I have those conversations.
Okay.
Thank you. And real quick, and I will tell you, and I know this is important to the school committee, the 3 reading curriculum support materials that we're looking at have social studies and science weaved in to the units throughout the year, which the staff, the K-2 staff, because they weren't doing as much as 3 through 5 with science and social studies, really appreciated that. And in one of the companies, even ancient Greece is weaved in the literacy, so that was pretty interesting to see.
Great.
John, do you know, is there any part of the curriculum that teaches to that science test?
That
Just to get-
teaches to the science test?
Yeah, to that evaluation.
No. I think we've done fairly well on that. Because 3 through 5, that's when they really start with science. But again, this coming year, K-2, I'm purchasing the kits from Mystery Science, and they've really done a good job with providing the lesson plans, supporting videos, meeting the standards, and they'll have all the tools to do the labs, so I'm hoping that that helps, and that's gonna be K-5.
Oh, that's
I'm gonna purchase those K-5, and once you have the kits, it's pretty simple stuff, and you can add to it by buying Q-tips, or buying cups, or buying,
right.
you can keep the kits supported just by going to the dollar store or, to BJ's and getting that stuff, so.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, action items.
Madam Chair, do you want me to go through the names of the folks that we're gonna nominate, or how do you wanna proceed with that?
Yeah, if you wanna just
Okay.
go through that.
would be
Yeah,
good,
okay. So, tonight's the night for reappointment, so we can get contracts ready to go out to staff. So I have a series of memos that, sent out to you. So the first batch is a reappointment of second year, I'm sorry, John, no, that's right. So it would be reappointment of, second year probationary teachers and first year continuing contract teachers for the 2025 school year. So I'm recommending the reappointment of the following people to second year probationary teachers. Morgan Burkholder, Michelle Selby, and Tristan Thompson. And I'm also recommending the reappointment of the following first year continuing teachers: Amanda McGinnis, Isabel Sawyer. And then, I'm going to recommend the reappointment of the following continuing contract teachers, also known as agreement contracts. And that would be Chris Balchunas, Christine Bennett, Elizabeth Connell, Jennifer, I can pronounce this, Alsacier. Did I get that right?
Alsacer,
Yep.
yep.
Sue Harmon, Hannah Layton, Jennifer Lundstrom, and Miranda Vasciano. That's that group. And then, I have, you wanna take those, or you wanna take them in mass?
How about en masse?
Okay, then I have a memo here on, recommendations for the reappointment of the following educational support personnel for the 25-26 school year. Likewise, the teachers for the 25-26 school year. Administrative secretary, Michelle Wiley. Clerk substitute, Kayla Olson. Education technician 1, Marissa Barker. Aeneas Diaz. Educational technician 2, Jamie Payne, Ashley Russo, and educational technician 3s, Elizabeth Connell and Fifield, Jessica Randall, Amy Sweetser. And then for the reappointment of the following non-teaching employees for the 25-26 school year: bus drivers, Raymond Dingley, Ronald Hanscom, Tammy Robinson, head custodian Dave Brown, food service director Morgan Terriel, and food service staff Tia Banks. And I also want to add on to this list, Kathy Garish is going to return, and I'm so grateful that she's going to come back for 1 day a week. And so I'm going to reappoint her to a 1-day position for the administrative assistant to the superintendent. So those are the folks that I'm nominating tonight. That's the whole slate.
Okay, so I am looking for suggested motion then.
I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to reappoint the slate of teachers and other employees as was just presented by superintendent. Do you have a second?
A second?
I thought you were still going.
I know,
Oh, sorry.
any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
I didn't wanna butcher
All
Lou's
right.
last name, just like, you know.
Oh, Gasinski, that's okay, that's all right, don't worry about it. Well, thank you.
Okay, the next one.
John, why don't you come back up here, we're gonna talk about calendar.
Oh,
Put you in
okay.
the hot seat here. So,
Well, I don't think I'm in the hot seat.
no, I know. So just by way of introduction, we presented the first reading of the calendar.
No, it's
Oh,
different.
it's
So we
different.
presented the first reading of the calendar
Colorful, John.
to you at the last meeting for first read. We also sought input from our unions to provide feedback to us on the calendar, which if there's a provision in each CBA that we would seek their input. Doesn't mean we have to agree with everything that they want, but we try to accommodate. And John has updated the calendar to incorporate some of the union's feedback as well as suggestions made by the committee at its last meeting. So this was in your board packet, nothing had changed
Yeah.
from the last meeting, correct?
Correct.
So now you're coming tonight to make some recommended
Yeah.
changes. Okay.
So, just so you know, I listened to the school committee, and their suggestions. And if you look, except for the month of January when we have ski club, I made sure that half-day Wednesdays were not in the same week that we had a day off. Okay? I've added, and I moved the one from June to September, because staff said they really needed 2 in September, because it's the beginning of the year and we get a lot of work happening.
So the early release day on the 3rd,
On the 3rd went to the 10th of September.
Okay.
That's, and then, I do have an early release, the 7th, the 14th, 21st, 28th, and the 4th. That's the entire weeks of ski club. But I've only added 1 half-day Wednesday in total. If you count, we had 13 on one, and we have 14 on another.
because you moved one,
Because I moved one.
Yep.
Right.
and,
So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, yep. So I've only added 1.
how did
Or
you?
2.
You added 2.
How many did we have on the
Well,
first?
you
day?
added the 14th and the 28th,
Yeah, and I moved 1.
yeah? But you didn't delete one.
You didn't delete one.
How many did we have on the one that you got earlier?
We had 12.
Oh, I thought
Well-
you had 13, okay, so I added 2. I added 2. And the 2 I added were for the ski club.
I mean, my only concern, I understand the notion of the ski club, but my only concern is the ski club doesn't always happen on those days because we're dependent on the weather,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
So this year we had, you're right, we had cancellations, and then we moved it out, right?
Well, and in prior years, we weren't able to start on the 7th because there was
Oh.
no snow, so sometimes that
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So we would have to just accommodate the changes, right, as we did
Well,
this
what we
year?
did this year, when we needed to cancel and change, we accommodated that. We switched that out. You know, like, we canceled in it well in advance so people knew. And so that was helpful, because Cameron would get a hold of me well in advance, and we were kind of looking at the future.
'Cause we knew we had some cold
We
weather
had,
coming, yeah,
we had some cold weather, and we knew we wouldn't be able to have ski club, so.
So on the days, so say for example, because like you said, you got 5 in a row, so say for example, if like the first 2 weren't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Then you would not take those as half days.
We would not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'd,
we
we'd
would-
have to go 21st as a half day, the 28th as a half day,
Mhm.
and then Wednesday would be a half day, it's already in the calendar,
Right.
so you'd actually, you'd maybe gain one, right? And you would have one on the 11th.
Right, I would just shift, if we knew we weren't getting snow. Remember a couple of years ago, we didn't get any snow.
It was bad,
Yeah.
And we had to move those ski club
Right.
days. We always moved them 1 or 2 days at the end of ski club.
Right.
And so I would just shift those days.
So I do have a question,
Mhm.
because where you added 2 days
Yeah.
for half days, do you really need the half day in December? And the reason why I ask is because I do understand if they need them in September because it's the beginning of the
Mhm,
year,
mhm.
they're trying to figure it out. And you said in May, at the end of the school year, they need them more because they're trying to figure out
Mhm,
for next
mhm,
year.
mhm.
So I get that. December, you're coming up on a big vacation
Yeah.
and,
I'll explain to you why.
oh
End of
boy.
vacation.
It's only 3
If,
weeks.
if I don't meet on the 3rd of December, that means by the time we meet again, I haven't met with the staff for 2 months. And, well, you figure the last.
Oh, because the last one
Yeah.
is November.
Yeah, so that would be 2 months without meeting with the staff. And in a school, if you're not
Okay.
meeting with the staff at least once a month, things
So,
happen.
okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
What about October, because you have a teacher workshop day in there?
Correct.
Could you get away with taking out the half day because you have a teacher workshop day?
You know what I'm gonna say, Maggie?
Come on, John, throw me a bone here.
I would tell you, I
Make
would,
it
prefer-
tit for
I would,
tat.
I would prefer not to, and I'll tell you why, and then, yeah, of course, you're gonna make the ultimate decision. I'm just gonna petition the court.
Mhm.
On teacher workshop days,
Mhm.
that's not a day that I actually sit down and have meetings with the staff. Those are days that we are deeply involved in curriculum work, and training the whole day. If you came to our workshop, we're pretty busy, from start to finish. So that's not a day that I'm taking an hour and going over, staff meeting type stuff with staff. But, again,
All right, I'm gonna throw one more
Yeah,
at you.
yeah.
Okay.
What was the day you just mentioned again?
October
October.
22nd, because he
Was-
had a teacher workshop day.
Mhm.
So if you're meeting twice in September,
Mm-hmm,
okay?
yep,
And then you wanna meet in October because the teacher workshop day is for something else.
Yep.
And then, what about November? Because if you got rid of the November one, I know you're gonna say, let me tell me why.
no,
But
I'm
I'm
not.
just, because again, you don't have 2 months, you will meet in December. So you will have 4 weeks
Mhm.
that you won't meet with them,
Mhm.
but it's not 2 months. And it gains us another full school day back.
Okay, I'm gonna say something to you, and you can take it the way,
Or something, John.
I would prefer not, but if the school committee wants that, then I will live with it.
See, you do compromise.
I
The
do,
board
it's
wants.
it's very challenging right now.
Hey, I'm trying to move around on dates here. It's,
I was actually hoping.
So would
that
we
Maggie
add,
just
like, if the ski club ends up extending, would we be adding the 11th as
Say
a
that
half
again?
day? If the ski club
Yes,
ends up extending, would we be adding the 11th as a
Yes.
half day?
you would, yeah.
But we
Stay
would
the
take,
same.
so
But
as
they
an
would take
example,
But they would take away.
if we're not getting snow, on the
It's
7th, I would
schedule-wise
let
for
people
parents.
know if there was no snow
That's
predicted,
I know.
and we didn't
That's
have
what
much
it is.
on the mountain, I would be letting families know that, the 7th is a full school day. Because I wouldn't want to take a half day and then have another ski club day and take a half day, I
Well,
would just,
Yeah,
actually, I
I would.
okay, here's my next question.
Stay with that.
Are you guys willing to maybe bump the ski club so it's January 14th is the first
can I
day?
raise my hand?
Well,
Well,
I know what you're
let her
saying.
get a question.
Yeah.
out.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And then you can, because if the 7th, which is the first day
Mhm.
of ski club, like you said, sometimes we don't have a lot of snow.
Mhm.
You're also coming off of a almost
Huge break.
2-week break,
Mhm.
and then you have a half day.
Yeah.
I'd rather see a full week of school and then you just add on the 11th,
Okay.
because it's further into February, and you probably will have snow.
Yep, I will, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that, I have to talk to Cameron,
Yeah. that's a
because
Cameron
this year,
question.
when I tried to adjust the
Okay.
ski club schedule,
Yep.
I got a lot of calls.
Okay.
Well, we
So-
also, I mean, the real issue is, like, the mountain was giving us a hard time
Yep.
even, cause we bumped
Right.
2 dates.
Right,
And then they were like figuring that Sebago would be done, cause they have other programming,
Right.
you know, but we made it happen this year, I mean, I would, in the interest of parents planning for these days and childcare and whatnot, I would rather just say, hey, if these are your days, that's fine, and if you cancel ski club, it's gonna happen on a day where other kids are at school
Mhm.
for the full day, and you're gonna have to deal with that, because it's just unreasonable for parents to,
Mhm.
they already had
yeah.
plans with others, and now it's changing just because of the weather.
Well, if we move the ski club to the 14th, 21st, 28th, 4th, and 11th,
Mhm.
there's less likelihood that will happen. So if Cameron's willing to change that, we can bump those days, that we can take the 7th and move it to the 11th,
Yeah.
and call
And
it
the
a
mountain
day.
would just have to be okay with
Right.
that, yeah.
And this gives, I mean, Cameron's got from now until,
Oh, he's got a
Yeah,
year.
plenty of
Yeah,
time
figure it
to
out.
let
But-
them,
But I do agree with Rich is that it is hard, cause say for example, instead of, cause every time you try to extend it and make that day a half day,
Mhm.
you've got all the, and again, you told me how many kids participated in ski club, like,
almost half.
so,
Yeah.
but you still got the other half of the school
Mhm.
that's here.
Yeah.
And you've got those parents that they're not, their kids aren't doing ski club.
Mhm.
And, like, I know me personally, whenever my kids have a half day, they always tell me they're not very productive. And so, it's just what I'm hearing,
Half
I'm on,
day, what do you mean?
like, whenever they have a half day, and
Yeah.
I think it depends on the grade too, cause when I'm like, oh, what'd you do today? It was, okay, well, we did like our morning meeting, and then we did our extra, and then we had recess, and then we had a couple recesses, and then we had free choice, and then we went to lunch, and we went home.
Yep.
And I'm like, so you only did one thing
Mhm.
that in my mind was educational.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I guess. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I don't
So-
know if that's, staff is supposed to follow the schedule
Mhm.
on a half day. So if it's a half day, whatever that morning is, that's what kids are supposed to be doing. So, if you're a 5th grade, you're coming in, you're doing morning meeting, you're going to your special financial, which say is art.
Mhm.
And then you have literacy, no, you have math for the rest of the morning.
Yep.
And then you go to lunch, and we adjust the lunch so that we condense that, we don't
Right.
make as much time.
Yeah, so no, like you said, I mean, and I agree is that, if you need to put ski club just on a different day, I agree with him that it should just be a full day. And like you said, and the kids that are going to ski club, that's okay, they're
Mhm.
going and their parents are aware, but the rest of the parents shouldn't have to adjust their schedule
Mhm.
at the same time, because that makes it hard for them.
Well, I can commit to that and especially if Cameron moves the date takes the 7th, goes to the 11th, I don't think we'll have a missed ski club. It's
Mhm.
always that beginning of ski
No, it's
club.
the cold
Well,
weather too.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's why I was thinking, because not only that, it's hard, like you just had, like you said, a big long break, and now you've got another half day. And the parents, their kids don't go to ski
Yep.
club, they're pulling their hair out,
Mhm.
because they're
Yeah.
like, why do you
Yeah.
have another half day?
Mhm.
And, I mean, I think, again, if all the parents knew that it's because of ski club, that may make a difference, but I
Mhm.
think a lot of them are not aware, because
Yeah.
their kids are not participating in ski club.
Yeah, I
So-
think there also should be a push. It's, it's probably difficult, and I'm not sure what, the mountain allows for ages, because, we just opened it up to
Mhm.
3rd graders this year. And
Oh,
then-
2nd grade too.
and second grade
I
too.
think they just
So-
opened it to second
To
grade.
2nd grade this year.
Right.
So it's great that they have that, but I also think the recreation department needs to push the notion that, hey, we have scholarships available, so that you folks don't end up with, what do we do when it gets pushed, and then we
Mhm.
have a half day, or not a half day,
Yeah.
but we still have kids here. 'Cause, frankly, it's part of our identity, we're a mountain town,
Right.
and kids should be able to participate with scholarships.
And it has grown, and they
Yeah.
did provide scholarships to kids, which
Yeah.
was great too.
No, it's great, yeah, but publicizing that,
Yeah.
would help.
Yeah.
It's just a great program.
And what we could do, the schedule on the ski club, on the half days that are ski club, is actually put it on the calendar. Half day,
Ski club.
January 14th, ski club.
Right.
So that way parents are seeing,
Like, put the grades on there, though.
what's that?
Put the
Yes,
grades on there.
grades,
Yeah.
So if
'Cause
it's
not every-
second through
right.
fifth.
Right, no,
Yeah.
but
Preschool and
to let parents
Yeah.
know, that's why we're having the half day at ski club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it probably would help.
Yeah.
Because like you said, because there's a lot of parents that, I hate to say it, they're not really paying attention to
Mhm.
what's going on, and especially if.
They don't open the Friday folder.
No, they don't. They open it on Monday.
Right.
And they're like, oh, what's all this?
Oh, time to register for,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like you said, anything you can do to kind of help out, I think, the parents.
Yeah.
Is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and especially that way, if, you have parents that are kind of grumbling about it, you're like, oh, wait, what's on the calendar that I
Right.
sent home with you?
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, okay.
yeah.
So you're adding an early release day, September 10th,
Mhm.
just to reiterate here.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see if Cameron can accommodate the 14th, 21st, 28th, and the 4th
Yeah.
as the yard days, right? So you're adding two.
Yeah.
We're actually only adding one in that case, right?
Then,
Well,
well, we're
No,
taking,
the
we're
You'd
taking the 7th and we're moving it to the 11th.
Okay, I get you.
So-
And then that way, we're in school for for a week plus before we have a ski club, and those days are better suited for snow.
So the ski club will be 21st, 28th, 4th, and 11th.
No, 14th, 21st, 28th, 4th, and 11th.
Yeah. You're just shifting it down.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
then I'm asking about
Fine, right.
removing the half day in November.
I would support that.
I would support that as well.
Sorry, John.
I mean,
Darn it, Maggie.
I was like, how did you find one when there's only a month
Gotta
going
let
by?
it
Oh, I found it.
You're gonna miss her.
It's like 5 weeks.
John's not, he's gonna be like, yes.
I'm gonna be back next year.
That's right, I'll take over.
No,
There you go.
it impacts.
All right.
Oh,
Any other
Okay.
issues with the calendar, folks?
so, calendar. So if it's a second read, are we voting on that tonight?
Yeah, we'd like to get it approved.
Okay.
Well, do you wanna wait until we're
Well,
back from
I
Cameron?
would-
We can wait another month if you want.
I
because
would
parents are
say-
gonna be asking us here
I would
shortly.
say we
Yeah.
put it 14th, 21st, 28th, 4th, and 11th, and then let Cam make his adjustment.
He has plenty of time.
He has
Yeah, like you
plenty,
said, he's got a
Plenty of
to
Okay.
Yeah.
get that done.
Yeah, because we
so.
like to get this out, because parents they do make plans based on a calendar.
Yeah.
They'll be calling us, when's the calendar coming out?
so if we take off November 5th, move the ski club to the 14th, 21st, 28th, 4th, and 11th, and then I'll redo the schedule, have Shelley redo
Yeah.
the schedule tomorrow, does that make sense?
Does,
Alright.
yeah.
And
Okay.
June 3rd off.
So the,
And the
so the second reading will be the same as school
What-
committee approved.
What we just discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any other questions, comments, concerns?
like I said,
You see
The calendar that John just gave us at the bottom, the second reading's date is incorrect,
Oh,
if
it
that's
does,
what we're going off of.
yeah,
What was that?
because it says 0/00/25.
Well,
for the date.
that's because she didn't wanna put a date on that.
Okay,
There,
Okay.
it wasn't.
but that will be, we'll put that second reading approved, calendar approved,
That'll
right?
be
Yep.
3/25.
Then we get it on the website, and then parents will know.
I'll have Shelley get it on it tomorrow.
Because believe it or not, I mean, parents do look at this right away.
Oh, yeah.
I
They
do.
get, especially,
I'm
right.
like so glad I got the in.
right, because you wanna be able to plan your vacation and
Yeah.
all this
See,
other
and now
stuff,
you can
right?
fight for
So-
what you don't agree with.
So,
It doesn't always work,
do
but-
you wanna go ahead and
Motion
do the motion?
Oh, yeah, I'll move to approve the 25-26 calendar draft as presented and as explained and detailed by the principal.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Wow.
You're gonna like,
We
you're
got
gonna
it
like
done.
Maggie's tenacity.
Well, she met me halfway.
You're gonna like her tenacity.
I
I
know.
love it.
This is like the bane of my existence.
I don't know, I think John went high and then we just have to.
What's that?
Yeah.
I got a day back. I know, he still snuck in an extra
That's
one.
what happened.
All right, so
Okay,
policies, right?
So, no, we're at
Oh,
F2.
me, yeah.
I am looking for a motion to reappoint the superintendent for 1 year, starting July 1, 2026.
2025.
Oh, 2025, ending, jeez. Ending, June 30th, 2026. There, thank you.
I second.
We need a so moved.
So moved.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, I second.
Thanks.
Sorry.
So who was it so moved? We had, Maggie
Maggie
moved
was
it.
so moved,
Yeah.
Yep.
Jim
All
was
right,
the
thank you.
second.
All right.
Any discussion? I am just going to say, you're doing a great job, Lou.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I like working here. I like the people here, and I'm glad to come back another year.
Awesome,
So,
well, we're
yeah.
glad to have you.
And
Thank
for
you.
all our friends at home, Lou prepares our agendas. He prepares proposed motions for us so that we look like we know what we're doing, and we really appreciate that, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, all in favor? Excellent.
I have to say Kathy helps too. I don't wanna leave her out. She helps us a
Gotta have Kathy.
a lot.
Okay,
All right.
we're up to policies now.
So, I just wanted to introduce these policies to you. So the policies before you, they're Title IX policies. They were in existence up until, when were they? Up until
2021.
2021, I believe. And then, the Biden administration came in and there were some, federal requirements that changed Title IX. And then, President Trump was elected and he has, made some changes of his own. So what I'm recommending is that, based on feedback that we received from legal as well as the Maine School Management Association, is that you go back to the policies that were in place in 2021 because of the change in administrations at the federal level. I hope I'm making sense. We don't need to get into the details of all the nuances between the two administrations. I think we'd be here all night. So that's my recommendation, that you move forward and approve well, you don't have to vote tonight, but just accept the policies before you. Policies, it would be non-discrimination, equal opportunity, affirmative action. That would be policy AC, harassment and sexual harassment of students, policy ACAA, student discrimination harassment in Title IX, ACAAR, harassment and sexual harassment of school employees, ACAB, and then finally, employee discrimination harassment in Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures. So that's what we're looking for tonight for a first read. Does that
Yep,
make sense?
That's a first read and no motion is required.
Correct.
All right. All right. Okay, so now we're up to H.
Yep.
We are looking for a motion to approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26.
So moved.
I second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
All right, I can take the next item. It's a, I just need to get your vote on this. So I have a memo in your packet, and I'll read it for the public. Our 3-year contract with Mr. Maintenance for mowing the Sebago Elementary School grounds ends on June 30th, 2025. I am recommending the school committee vote to extend the contract for a 2-year period beginning on July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. School committee policy, DJ, and I've attached it in the memo, allows for a contract extension with prior approval of the committee before the superintendent enters into a contract on behalf of the school department. So we need your approval first by policy. The current contract, 3 years, July 22nd and June 2025, includes mowing, trimming, spring and fall cleanup of all athletic fields and school grounds. The rate for the past 3 years has been $4,122.96 per year. And that was the fixed rate each year of the contract. And then it just breaks down the monthly installments, which would be $343.58 per month, which we've been paying over the past 3 years. We just got a proposal from Mr. Maintenance. They've had a chance to look at the figures, and the new price for the 2-year contract extension would be $4,400 a year. The new monthly payment will be $370 beginning in July. Just to give you some insight into how we base our numbers, we like to tie it to the inflation rate. According to the federal government's inflation calculator, the inflation rate since the beginning of the last contract, July 2022, to the present has been about 7.7%. As you can see, our increase isn't a raise, it's essentially cost of living increase. If this is agreeable to you, I will send over a new contract to sign this week. Any questions, feel free to reach out. I recommend that you approve the contract. They've done a fine job. Mr. Maines does a fine job for us. They're located right next door. We're not paying them to transport equipment and everything here. So I recommend that you approve my ability to enter into contract with Mr. Maintenance based on policy DJ.
So,
Questions?
any questions for Liz? Okay. And just for a little further information, he also usually gets the mowing contract for the town, for town buildings, and for all of the 40-some-odd cemeteries in this
Wow.
town. And he does a fantastic job.
40 cemeteries?
We have 49
Oh my goodness.
total, I think.
Wow.
There's lots of small
Yeah.
ones.
So, yeah,
All right, so moved.
okay,
I second.
excellent. Any
Just
further
give us some-
discussion? All in favor? Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to change our April 8th special school committee meeting to April 10th at 6 PM. Is that actually, is it wanted to be at like? I think it was 5:30. we
Yeah.
wanted to do it, so we'll, yeah.
Yeah, it should be 5:30. Thank you.
30, yeah. 5:30.
I don't think we need to move just because we.
Right, you're just notifying the public that you're
Okay,
you're having a meeting.
we don't have to vote on that, okay. So we have changed
Yep.
that.
Dell, could you come up if there's any questions about the restraint and seclusion trainer? I just want to let you know, I'm sorry, did I jump?
No,
the
I
gun?
think we're done.
Trying to
with
move
that.
us along
no,
here.
you're good.
So there's a job description that we're looking for you to approve, and it's for a restraint and seclusion trainer. And there's a variety of different federal and state laws that govern restraint and seclusion, specifically for students with disabilities, but it also would apply to kids without disabilities. We want to make sure that our staff is appropriately trained, so Dell has put together a job description for your approval. We currently have someone in the district that provides the training, I believe it's Jamie Payne, correct me if I'm wrong,
That's right.
and she does that. We still need to talk to the unions about this because it's a mandatory subject of bargaining when you have a stipend position. And so I'm of the opinion to allow maximum flexibility, we're gonna have to talk to both unions to say, hey, look, if we're gonna pay a stipend for this position, right now it happens to be an ed tech. If that person wins the mega bucks and goes to Tahiti, and we have a teacher that's capable of doing it, we wanna be able to have the flexibility of tapping that person as well. So this is some things that we're gonna iron out with the union tomorrow on this, but Del, did I capture it all? Do you have anything you want to add to this
Yeah,
job description?
it's not specific to a specific program. Obviously, when they're training, they're following one of the state-approved programs that are listed on the DOE website with regard to restraint and seclusion. But essentially, previously, the previous special ed director was the trainer. And so when I came on board, we had to find someone else to step up to that position. And luckily, Jamie was willing, and of course, it takes a special person to fulfill this role because, what we're trying to do is have trained staff in place to help when there's a crisis, but not everyone's cut out to do that job. And so I think we're very fortunate, and the training was done last summer, and we had, so I was trained, 2 special ed teachers were trained, and 5 ed techs were trained this year. And we have had no restraints or seclusions this school year so far.
That's great.
That is great.
That's what we want.
Yep,
It is.
so it's a first.
We have
for you.
great kids.
It's well.
I don't know if you folks have any questions?
I don't,
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
Sorry,
It's
Del.
all about, did you guys have any questions for Del or Lou about that?
So if I just ask like a basic, like, do you actually restrain and like seclude the child, or is that just like wording that they use for like de-escalation techniques?
Good question.
So,
Like-
Good question.
well,
It doesn't actually, like,
de-escalation
it doesn't say.
techniques are part of this training. And the part that's more important than anything else is, those de-escalation strategies so that we never ever get to restraint or seclusion. So restraint is only used when a student is at imminent danger to themselves or others. And that's significant, that would cause significant or serious injury or impairment. And seclusion, and that restraints are only done by certified folks, and they're only done as brief a time period as they can. They all require reports that are written, and then there's a whole protocol with regard to contacting parents and all of those pieces. Seclusion is currently still on the books, but it is one that several folks are working on taking away. And that is essentially, seclusion is when a student is placed into a room and the door is held shut. It can only be a room of certain size, space, and ventilation, as well as requires a window so that they're constantly visually monitored. And it's, again, an attempt to provide time and space for a student to calm down while keeping others safe at the same time. But that's the seclusion piece. But and again, we're very fortunate here. And we also have we're very lucky because our staff are very responsive to student needs versus reactive. And that makes a world of difference with regard, because anytime there's a crisis going on and you come on the scene, you're bringing something with you. And our staff have done a very good job of remaining calm and keeping the student calm. And John is usually involved in all of the above and takes a very active role in that and does a very good job at de-escalating as well. So again, we're very fortunate here in Sebago.
That's great.
Thank you.
Jen, did that answer your
It
question?
did, yes, thank you.
Okay, we have nothing under discussion items. Wow, that's still on there.
I know.
Items for future agendas. The infamous mentoring is still there. Were you able to reach out to any of the high school students? I feel like
I
you
didn't.
said something.
I haven't yet, no.
We'll do that, we'll,
Okay, so that's where that's at right now. Information items, future meetings. Oh, did we decide not to do the April 29th meeting?
Yeah, we're gonna
Did
move
we
it
do the April
to
10th?
the 10th.
Okay, so Kathy.
Okay.
On Thursday, April 10th, we have our special school committee meeting to approve the warrants and to ratify contracts.
Yep.
And we're also going to just do whatever else, any other business we have for the month of April, we'll do it then.
I will still meet with the operations committee.
Okay.
Yep.
But the workshop and the meeting for April 29th, we will just cross off. All right. Let's see. Tuesday, April 15th, the superintendent and I will attend the select board meeting at 6:30 to present the warrants. Wednesday, May 7th at 7 PM. It's a Town of Sebago school budget meeting right here in the cafeteria. And Tuesday, June 10th, budget validation referendum. Vote for another school committee member.
When is the filing period, so the public knows, the filing period for the school committee?
It's
Do you know?
April 10th, you have to have your papers returned, so that's, I think they require 25 signatures, but usually Letitia will tell you to get 40 just to be
Right.
safe.
So so if you're interested in running for school committee, you have to have the paperwork in to Letitia by the 10th,
By the 10th of April.
by the end of the business day.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Are we meeting earlier on May 7th? Did we decide to do
May, oh,
that? Like, are
do we,
doing-
so on May 7th,
You could have a workshop,
do you wanna have a workshop?
yeah, in my
prior,
office, just to get us prepped up.
Like at 6?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, so at 6,
So 6, okay.
So the 7th, we'll have a little,
so.
just to run through
we'll
together.
have,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Workshop at 6 PM. Alright. Wait, where? Right here. Okay. Okay. Alright. Is there anything else? If not, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.